Hey y'all, welcome back. Today we're checking out the 7 songs that started Stomp Clap Hey. Oh, the 7 songs to blame for Stomp Clap Hey. This is part 2. Did part 1 last time. We're jumping into Mumford & Sons and Sigh No More. Be sure to go to Trash Tier and like and subscribe. August 2009, Little Lion Man, Mumford & Sons.
Meanwhile, the UK was brewing its own modern take on the Greenwich Village scene, revolving around the Bosun's Locker on the King's Road in London. A bunch of teenage musicians bonded over the venue's country nights and underage drinking.
What?
Amongst this, Laura Marling was the obvious talent, writing wise beyond her years kitchen sink dramas about love and loss.
I will never love a man, 'cause love and pain go hand in hand, and I can't do it again.
Around her, bands like Noah and the Whale and the Vaccines would form.
When we were drinking, it was fun, fun, fun. When we were drunk and it was just breakup sex that helps you forget your ex.
As well as IPA, drama was on tap. Marling had previously been guitarist for Noah and the Whale, dating the Whale himself, Charlie Fink, before breaking up and ending up with her touring drummer, Marcus Mumford. Songs about the triangle would pervade the scene. In December 2007, Mumford would form his own group from locker regulars and old school friends, naming them Mumford & Sons. He had been writing songs since school after falling in love with Dylan's Blood on the Tracks, but changed tact when he was gifted a copy of the Oh Brother, Where Art Thou soundtrack. Taking on bluegrass as his new religion, Mumford & Sons brought in double bass, banjos and acoustic guitars.
Okay, so Mumford & Sons was kind of the first one to say, okay, we're not even pretending to be rock anymore. We're going full-on bluegrass. And if you missed part 1, that Oh Brother, Where Art Thou song was the first song to blame. It came out in 2000 and was very influential to all these other bands, apparently. Oh, the soundtrack of that movie won Album of the Year at the Grammys over Outkast's album Stankonia.
Their name's supposed to evoke the image of an old-fashioned, family-run essential store. Their music to be just as rustic, wholesome, and necessary.
Darkness is a harsh time, don't you think?
Their wardrobe followed suit, giving the impression of 19th century railroad engineers. Though Mumford admits it began with him wearing a waistcoat to disguise his developing gut. After releasing a couple of indie EPs in 2008, their first proper single was August 2009's rabble-rousing two-step, Little Lion Man.
Oh.
Stinging regret bursting out of Mumford's chest during the chorus.
But it was not your fault but mine, and it was your heart on the line.
The stomp.
Okay, yeah, now I recognize it. Yep.
But mine, and it was your heart on the line.
The stomping whisper to a saw middleweight gives the impression of Come On Eileen, if Dexys were more into bluegrass than northern soul.
Come on, Eileen, to the right, come on.
Two IAs replaced with almighty R's. What's interesting is it was their first single-shaped song, and they knowingly kneecapped it for radio, with the dozen or so expletives in the chorus,
What?
despite industry types begging them to change it.
I really fucked it up this time, didn't I, my dear?
In their eyes, no other word could work for just how wrong he'd gone. Their debut album, Sigh No More, was self-funded, made without label backing, and produced by Marcus Draves,
Awesome.
who'd previously worked on Arcade Fire's Neon Bible. Having heard their EPs, Draves understood that their sound could be huge. What I heard was amazing dance music. I wanted to retain the urgency of that on record. Who says bluegrass belongs in a spittin' sawdust bar? If you make it sound as fat sonically as hip-hop, you can fill an arena easy.
Yeah.
Sigh No More was released on Ireland in the UK in October 2009. Followed in the US in February 2010 on Premium Indie Glassnote. It soon went 5 times platinum in the UK.
Wow.
Won British Album of the Year at the Brit Awards.
Nice.
And Taylor Swift covered their White Blank Page on her BBC Radio 1 session.
Tell me now, where was my fault?
In the US, it sold 3 million copies, and they were nominated
Nice.
for Best New Band and Best Rock Song for Little Iron Man at the 2012 Grammys. While they didn't win either, they performed The Cave at the ceremony, before backing Bob Dylan himself, along with the Avett Brothers,
Whoa.
on a version of Maggie's Farm. Critically, though, they were slaughtered. Pitchfork gave the album a 2.1,
Why?
going hard on the angle that they are a quartet of privately educated Brits playing dress-up.
So what?
That they lacked the required legitimacy to be playing Dust Bowl country.
Get
A
outta
man of
here.
no little insecurity. Mumford felt they nailed everything he hated about his own work.
Oh, no.
Actually, the week the album came out, I read 2 reviews and I cried. I hated it. I thought, fuck, that's pretty bad. But that night I was playing a gig, and by the end of the gig I thought, well, we're still doing what we want to be doing, and we're really proud of the work we've done. And now we've made the decision as a band not to send reviews to each other. In all seriousness, it can affect how you feel.
Absolutely. It's like reading the comments of YouTube. Don't even do it. Just makes you feel self-conscious, right? It's like why actors don't watch themselves. The critics hated them because they were not authentic bluegrass from Appalachia. But those music critics don't realize that that music comes from Britain in the first place, right? They don't know. It's like Irish folk music. Okay, wow. Of Monsters and Men and My Head is an Animal. September 2011, Little Talks of Monsters and Men. I just heard some horns there, and that sounded familiar. All right. Oh,
By
yeah.
2011, Stomp Clap
I totally forgot about it. Right.
By 2011, Stomp Clap was gathering momentum. Of Monsters and Men formed in 2009 in a small town in Iceland. The next year, the folk
Iceland.
rock five-piece gained attention in their homeland after winning the National Battle of the Bands, Music Tilraunir. Evolution of their sound came quickly. They rocked up their folk and added drums, keyboards, accordion, trumpet, and French horn, after frequently being talked over when playing shows. Their choice to sing in English was due to its sharp corners suiting their tales of myths and fairy tales, more than the more spherical Icelandic language.
Ship will carry our bodies safe to shore.
Seattle's KEX.
You know, now that I know they're Icelandic, her voice also sounds kind of like Bjork, doesn't it?
Ship will carry our bodies safe to shore.
Seattle's KEXP were an early champion. In October 2010, broadcasting the band playing in their living room, after seeing them at that year's Iceland Airways Festival. When the band released their debut album, My Head is an Animal, in their homeland in September 2011,
That
it
album
soon
cover.
went platinum, over 3% of the island nation having bought in. But the month before, John Allers, DJ for Philadelphia's WRFF, started playing a demo version of Little Talks on his morning show. Soon
There's that
it returned
hey.
to radio, couldn't get enough of the track.
Don't listen to a word I say.
A boisterous, almost pirate jig, with hearty haze. The main lyrical thrust of Little Talks was singer Nana Brindis Helmersdottir's grandparents, how they still held hands, were very much still in love, and the song explores how they would cope when they didn't have each other anymore.
There's an old voice in my head that's holding me back.
It's about a couple and the husband passed away.
Well, tell her that I miss our little talks.
And it's from the conversation between the two of them.
You're gone, gone, gone away. I watched you disappear.
We don't know if she's going crazy or if someone's actually there.
Just let me go, we'll meet again soon.
Helped by a Single of the Week placement on iTunes and appearances on Jay Leno, Little Talks ended up at number 20 on the US Billboard chart, number 12 in the UK. When My Head is an Animal was re-released internationally in April 2012, it reached number 6 on the Billboard album chart, the
Nice.
highest ever placing for an Icelandic group.
What?
Soon they were able to soundtrack advertisements for Coca-Cola and Apple, and trailers for Ben Stiller movies. Critically, they fared less well. Pitchfork saw no reason to review their album. Others saw them as a radio-friendly gumbo of what had come before. Spin, Rolling Stone, and The Guardian all compared them to Arcade Fire, while Billboard made a correlation between Little Talk's sweetly sincere duet with punctuating horns and the Magnetic Zero's Home. Others felt that their track Dirty Paws was even closer related. So much so that Alex Ebert almost got lawyers involved.
Of Monsters and Men, they got our...
Same tempo, similar chord progression, but the melodies are different. You can't copyright a tempo and a chord progression, people.
Of Monsters and Men, they got our album before they ever made an album because our agent was their manager and she showed it to them, and they basically, they got so close to home that we almost sued them. They were doing Apple commercials and I was getting calls saying congratulations. Like, that's how closely people started doing this.
Okay, see, this Ho Hey. Okay, this next one, the Lumineers Ho Hey, this is what I remember. This was huge. Huge. The Lumineers and Stomp Clap Going Pop. Okay, yes. June 2012, Ho Hey. Ho Hey, the Lumineers.
The origins of the Lumineers began in the half-decade Wesley Schultz and Jeremiah Freites spent trying to make it in Brooklyn, New York. Schultz in particular was working barista and bartending jobs concurrently to afford to pay rent in the city, at the same time at open mic nights, and playing Bob Dylan and Coldplay covers in bars. Attention was not forthcoming. They briefly went by the name Free Beer in the hopes that more people might check them out. The few originals they sprinkled into their sets were met with audiences disappearing to the bar, or like with Of Monsters and Men, simply talking over their acoustic compositions. By 2009 they'd had enough and moved to Denver, to a scene that was a bit more receptive. But already they had Ho Hey, the song that would make them, itself inspired by those indifferent Brooklyn crowds. The initial spark was the idea that if the bar wasn't paying attention, maybe shout until they do. As such, the song's titular hollers were added as a live gimmick. Taking for themselves the rhythmic yells of the traditional work song, Take This Hammer, which they'd heard covered by the Felice Brothers.
Take this hammer and carry it to the captain.
While its refrain might suggest a love song, and indeed the song would get plenty of play at weddings.
I belong with you, you belong with me, my sweetheart.
It's a song dwelling on dissatisfaction.
I've been trying to do it right. I've been living a lonely life.
Looking back, I was writing about two heartbreaks at the same time. A person had recently broken up with me, and I was also leaving New York and moving to Denver, breaking up with the city that I thought held all my dreams. I felt steamrollered by both events.
I don't know where I went wrong, but I can write a song.
With their lineup rounded out with cellist Naila Pekarek, recruited for an ad on Craigslist, the band soon got a management deal to fund the recording of their debut self-titled album, full of similarly spirited campfire sing-alongs. Pitchfork again didn't even consider reviewing it. But elsewhere they got a lot of comparisons to Mumford & Sons, the Civil Wars, and the Avett Brothers. Not only for their Depression-era sound, but also their Daniel Plainview attire. However, before the album was even released, an acoustic version of Ho Hey was used on the CW show, Heart of Dixie. After that, DJs started playing the studio version, and it entered the Billboard Hot 100 in June 2012 at number 90.
I belong with you, you belong with me, my sweetheart.
6 months later, it peaked at number 3, behind only Bruno Mars and Rihanna.
You make me feel like I've been locked out of heaven. Beautiful like diamonds in the sky.
Wow, it was number 3 against those.
It was the moment where Stomp Clap became indisputably mainstream.
Yeah.
Not that the Lumineers were aware of how big they'd become. I remember going back home to Denver after coming off of our tour, and the globe was reacting to the music in a way we weren't aware of, because we were in this bubble. A friend of mine was like, "What's it like being in one of the biggest bands in the world?" I thought he was joking, but then I realized he was actually serious. We were getting exposed to so much more of the world than we realized, or were prepared for. It caught us a little off guard.
I bet. Yeah, I think they played Saturday Night Live, didn't they? Wow. Yeah, that's the song. I guess that's what they're saying. That was when it became pop. Wow. You know, you never know. You never know when you're recording in your bedroom that recording you're making might be what changes music. You just never know. You never know. What you're tinkling around with on your laptop might change pop culture. You just never know. Just never know. Never know. They're watching it. The story I heard with Ho Hey was that they had recorded it, and then this guy, I wouldn't call him a friend because we've never met in person, just over email, Kevin Agunas, he bought the studio that used to be known as Studio City. There he is.
I've recorded drums in.
There he is, right there, the tall guy in the white shirt. And from what I remember, the story I have in my mind, I'm not going to check the facts, I'm just going to tell you the story I have in my mind, is that the Lumineers recorded a version of Ho Hey, and then they went to the studio with Kevin, and they kind of added some overdubs, like that bass drum and all that stuff, to kind of give it a little more of thickness or just something else. Because I guess before that, the recordings were just like the acoustic guitar and maybe the cello and their vocals and stuff. And they just did some overdubbing, and that's what became big. Conclusion and Stomp Clap Revival, 2012 to now. Stick Season, Noah Kahan.
As you promised me.
Stomp Clap had its moment. However, it is a movement applied in hindsight. No journalist named it that. No industry people thought to consign it that way. It was a meme tweet that retroactively got applied to a certain ill-defined sound.
Wait a minute. Okay, yeah, that's how I remember it. From my perspective, and I guess from most people's, this wasn't a whole new genre. It was just like the new style of rock music or pop music, right? But I guess it was a movement, sort of. What does this say? Def Leppard Fan 94, remember this genre of music from like 2011? I like to call it Stomp Clap Hey. That sucked, LMAO.
In reality, a collection of Americana, new folk, and indie rock that has congealed into a sometimes cringy happening. But briefly, it changed the sound of pop radio. Avicii's Wake Me Up wouldn't sound like that without Mumford & Sons.
So wake me up when it's all over.
Ditto Pitbull and Kesha's Timber. An American Idol 2012 winner, Philip Phillips. Home.
Oh, yeah. Philip Phillips. I think I called him Stephen Phillips at the beginning of this.
Kesha's Timber. An American Idol 2012 winner, Philip Phillips. Home.
I'm yelling timber, you better move.
Right.
You better dance.
'Cause I'm gonna make this place your home.
Imagine Dragons even had a go.
So
In 2024, there was a strong case for the sound's revival. Noah Kahan had taken over radio with Stick Season.
Can I love Vermont, but it's the season of the sticks and I saw Vermont.
Shabuzi's A Bar Song Tipsy was part Jaquan, part The Lumineers. And British artist Miles Smith's Stargazing was powered by a familiar stomping, clapping, acoustic strum.
promise that you hold me close, don't let me go.
In February 2025, Carl Gordon posted We Will Never Die, a note-perfect parody of everything millennial and hipster in 2013. The sky-shouted harmonies, the extraneous percussion, and endless positivity.
We will never die.
Though critically derided,
That's hilarious. I've never heard that, but it encapsulates a lot of this, doesn't it? That's funny. And they're on the Brooklyn Bridge, y'all. They're gonna grab a latte after this video shoot.
In February 2025, Carl Gordon posted "We Will Never Die," a note-perfect parody of everything millennial and
Get a matcha
hipster
tea.
in 2013. The sky-shouted harmonies, the extraneous percussion, and endless positivity.
'Cause we will never die.
Though critically derided and easy to make fun of, overall it was a moment that was endearingly heart and sleeve, that was set on getting everyone involved. Whether that was dancing, clumping their feet, or slapping their hands together. It was music that brought people together, perfectly suited to the massive crowds indie bands were now playing at festivals like Coachella. Those wordless harmonies, those expertly utilized heys and woes, allowing for mass sing-alongs, without everyone knowing all the words. It was cringe. But for a brief moment, it was an escape from reality. No wonder it's back. And that's why, like it or not, Banjo Ravens will never die.
Okay, interesting. So it was an escape. In part 1, I think I mentioned that there was a study done that found that when times are bad, people look at entertainment to escape. So it's like a lot of songs about just dancing and having a good time. And then when times are good, people feel okay and comfortable enough to dip their toe in more nuanced or darker themes. And I guess, yeah, in 2000, this was happening in the early 2010s, and of course, the Great Recession happened in 2008. So it makes sense that this was about all that. Yeah. And then 2016 came around, and anyway, y'all be sure to go to Trash Theory and like and subscribe. I'd like to thank my patrons. I didn't realize Oh Brother We're Out There was so influential. This is crazy that we're still feeling the echoes of that movie now. And all these pop songs. I'm sorry, I was about to end the video, but there's more reflection to be had. All these pop songs that I have definitely heard. I mean, I haven't heard all these songs, but like Shabuzi, I just heard that maybe a year ago, and that's being influenced by it. This Imagine Dragons song, that went under, I didn't even interpret that as Stomp Clap Hey, but it was definitely out there and big. That's amazing. It snuck in under the radar without us realizing it's part of our pop culture now. That's crazy. Y'all, I'd like to thank my patrons. I'd like to thank my Buy Me a Coffee folks. Be sure to go to Trash Theory and subscribe. Thank y'all for watching this with me, and I'll see y'all next time.